and welcome to the May 21st, 2019 work session of the Town Board of the Town of Ossining. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And speaking of flags, we just got invited to a flag raising, an LGBTQ flag raising at the county on June 1st, I believe. Actually, I take that back. I think it might be June 2nd. I just got this just in, and it's going to be June 2nd at 11:30 at 148 Martine Avenue in White Plains, and if anybody's able to attend from our town board, that would be great. I think they're also going to be doing something similar here at Village Town Hall. Not sure I have the date, but I do think it is Pride Month, so we're happy to welcome people of all different interests, I guess is the best way to put that. So we're happy to celebrate as part of Pride Month, and as soon as we find out more details about the LGBTQ flag raising here at the Village Town Hall, we will let you know. In our staff meeting this morning, it was brought to my attention by both our assessor and receiver of taxes that they have been receiving many phone calls and inquiries from people who are confused about changes New York State has made to the STAR program this year. I asked our assessor, Fernando Gonzalez, if he could prepare something that might easily sum up what those who receive Basic STAR need to know, and here's what he offered. Changes to STAR reduce the income limit for the Basic STAR exemption credit on your property tax bill to $250,000. That's the income limit, is now $250,000. Anyone earning between $250,000 and $500,000 a year will receive a check for their STAR instead of the exemption on the school tax bill. Homeowners receiving the STAR credit in the form of a check will have the possibility of seeing their credit increase up to 2% annually, whereas those who decide to stay in the exemption credit program will have that exemption frozen at this year's levels. The income limit for the Basic STAR credit remains at $500,000. Enhanced STAR over 65 years of age recipients should have already enrolled in the income verification program with the state. The state is trying to incentivize property owners to move to receive the credit check instead of the tax bill exemption by floating the possibility of receiving up to 2% annually an increase in your STAR credit check versus no increase in your exemption. In order to move to the check, homeowners must 1. Notify the assessor's office to withdraw from the STAR exemption in writing or via email at assessor@townofossining.com by June 1st, 2019, and 2. Register for the STAR credit with the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance, who can be reached at 518-457-2036 or online at www.tax.ny.gov/STAR. We hope you enjoyed this friendly service announcement from Mr. Gonzalez. We are excited to join with our friends at Ossining Volunteer Ambulance Corps and Briarcliff Ambulance to celebrate National EMS Week, May 19th through May 25th, which has been a special way to thank our first responders since the week was dedicated by President Gerald Ford in 1974. We have exceptional service here in Ossining, and that is no exaggeration. The Mid-Hudson Ambulance District, serviced by OVAC, provides emergency medical service to the entire village of Ossining and unincorporated town, as well as portions of the town of Newcastle, and their response times regularly improve upon the national standard. We're able to provide the very best care to our residents at an incredibly competitive price through the district, which also will be celebrating its 10th anniversary this Thursday. And no, it was no accident that we chose this week as National EMS Week to host this celebration. OVAC has been a strong presence in our community since 1958. Their crew, a mix of paid EMTs and volunteers, is always looking to grow. So if you're interested, contact OVAC or Ossining Volunteer Ambulance Corps for more information. Do you have a Girl Scout hopeful in your home? We have some in our audience tonight. They're not hopeful. They're the real deal. There is an info session scheduled for tomorrow, Wednesday, May 22nd at the Ossining Public Library from 7 p.m. to 7:45 p.m. Come on down and see if entering the awesome world of scouting is a good fit for your family. Also, we have been receiving, just started receiving in some of the wreaths for Memorial Day from our many Girl Scout troops in Ossining, and we want to thank them for that in advance. We have a green celebrity coming to Ossining this week, also tomorrow, Wednesday, May 22nd at 6:30 p.m. Vegetarian cookbook author and Hudson Valley native Nava Atlas will be hosting Wild About Greens, a workshop and talk at Good Choice Kitchen on Main Street. For $75 per person, ages 13 and up, learn how to make 3 veggie-based recipes, a dip, a salad, and a smoothie, and learn some expert tips on how to incorporate more leafy greens into your diet despite our busy schedules. Pre-registration is required. Reserve your spot by calling 914-930-1591 or emailing info@goodchoicekitchen.com. This Saturday, May 25th, one of our faves, Ossining resident KJ Dennert, spins her tales and songs, singing her great jazz-infused songs as she returns to Ossining at the Westchester Collaborative Theater. Make sure to order your tickets like now at www.wctheater.org. This show will sell out shortly. We kicked off Memorial Day in Ossining today by unveiling the installation of flags on street poles of streets named after Ossining's fallen war heroes from conflicts dating back to the Civil War. Alongside Town Councilman Northern Wiltshire and myself, we joined American Legion Post 506 Commander Frank Fiala Jr. and former Highway Superintendent and Vietnam vet Michael G. O'Connor, Ossining Police Lieutenant Rich Damiano, Ossining Police Captain Jeff Giorgio, Highway Superintendent Pete Connolly, Village Mayor Victoria Garrity, and the town's very own Highway Department motor equipment operator and National Guard veteran John Orlando, as we unveiled the first installation at Incognito Lane in the unincorporated town. So the other roads that are on the list, and I believe all of them have had the installation as of today, are Baden Road, Bracken Road, Decker Road, Downey Road, Feeney Road, Gunung Drive, Gualtier Lane, Kelly Court, Mancuso Drive, McCarthy Drive, McCord Road, Parker Drive, Peugeot Drive, Robbins Drive, Russo Lane, Slater Drive, Tavano Road, Thornton Hill, Tuttle Drive, and White Way. All of those also had those flag markers installed today, and thank you so much to Post 506 Commander Frank Fiala for spearheading this effort and our Highway Department for mounting the attachments to the poles. We hope that as you drive around town this Memorial Day, you will pause and think about those in our community who truly made the ultimate sacrifice for our safety, security, and freedoms. And as a reminder, town offices will be closed on Monday, May 27th in observation of Memorial Day. Please consider joining us for the ceremonies scheduled in our community on Monday to honor those that have given everything in service to our country. In Ossining, the Memorial Day Parade will step off at 9:30 a.m. in front of Melrose Lumber on Croton Avenue, ending with a service at Nelson Park at the other end of the parade route. In Briarcliff, we will gather at the Briarcliff Fire Department on Pleasantville Road beginning at 11:30, then take a short walk to Law Park Pavilion for a ceremony at 12:15 p.m. Finally, if you are watching this live, you still have time to make your voices heard and vote on the school and library budgets and trustee elections for the Ossining and Briarcliff districts. Polls will be open until 9 p.m. at both the Ossining High School small gym and Todd Elementary School cafeteria. Do any of my other colleagues have anything to add? Do you want to talk about Commissioning Day at all? I know I wasn't able to make it, but no.
Sure.
Okay.
The Ossining Boat and Canoe Club held their annual Veterans Memorial Service where we launched a wreath for those service members lost at sea last Sunday in conjunction with the Commissioning Day, which is the opening of the boat club for those of you who don't speak boat language. So the season has started. If you were looking to enjoy the water, come on out. You can visit obcc.org and click on membership. If you're interested in membership, you can look at the whole website. The second Wednesday of the month is when the meeting is to join if anybody's interested. So feel free to stop by any day. I'm sure any member would show you around.
Okay. Anything else coming up that you need know of?
Just the OVAC stuff that you
Okay.
talked about, and
Okay. Fantastic. All right. So we're going to just launch right into our work session, and we're starting off with a departmental report from Kathy Asaro. We have 3 departmental reports tonight. First of which is from our senior nutrition site supervisor, Kathy, and she's going to join us to let us know what the seniors have been up to and what our staff has been up to this spring and what you are planning for us in the not too distant future, our seniors.
Keep trying to keep the seniors happy is our first and foremost project. The girls in the office have been working on updating all files, emergency contacts, and everything that we have to keep on file for the county. We also got back our exercise programs through Mainstream, finally, April through August, and we're working around the camps to, have the room, the art room for them. Every Monday, Monday we have Tai Chi, Tuesday we have chair yoga, Friday we have Stay Strong and Fit. They're all 1-hour classes. They're all free. So.
are they age restricted to seniors?
60 and up. Mm-hmm.
And you have to be 60 to come to your join
Yes,
your program,
you need
right?
to be 60 to join the program. If you're under like 59, 58, we usually let them in. They pay full price for the meal.
Got it.
What else is going on? We had United Healthcare come and do hand and chair massage for the seniors. They liked that. We do birthday celebrations once a month. In May, we took the seniors to Westchester Restorative, which is a nursing home and rehab in Mohegan Lake. They gave us a free lunch. We take them there every year. They invited us up for a Mother's Day lunch. Free lunch, music. They enjoy that, and with the help of all our vehicles and Bill from the recreation who let us use a bus, we took 45 seniors up for that. So they really had a good time. We're having Senior Health and Fitness Day on the 29th of May. We have a senior nutritionist coming from the county to talk about nutrition, and she's going to do Nutrition Jeopardy with the seniors. And we also
What time is
got
that
our
gonna be?
on Senior Health and Fitness Day.
And when she's going to
She's coming at 10:30.
He wants to know when the Jeopardy is.
Yeah, 10:30. 10:30 with Nella.
Okay.
We got our new car, our new Chrysler Pacifica they love.
Mhm.
And I heard that there's another one on the way, so
That's
we're
great.
really happy about that. So
Oh, it's up to
the seniors are happy.
Yeah.
And the drivers also.
Awesome.
Yep.
And,
And the kitchen's doing an awesome job too.
that's great.
They do great,
And
with
we
the
got-
seniors.
Have we gotten our new plates and or cutlery? So we're not using styrofoam
Oh, we're
anymore?
not using styrofoam anymore. Now we're using paper.
Awesome.
All paper
Okay.
and plastic. Plastic cups instead of styrofoam.
Okay.
So we're good.
All right.
Everything's changed
Moving
over.
in a direction. I'm not sure if
Yep.
it's the best one, but it's a
Everything, we're
better
going
one.
green.
That's great. We just
Yep.
had a conversation with I had a supervisor's luncheon yesterday, and a lot of people didn't know that styrofoam was built into probably the bid that was originally developed by the county.
Right. It was.
So there's a lot of
was
things like
there.
that were the county I think had a presentation last night about legislation to ban styrofoam in like single uses for retailers and things like that. And that we were just talking about that at the supervisor's lunch, and we talked about how that there's places where styrofoam use is kind of hidden from us. We don't necessarily realize that it's something that's required. So this was required as part of our bid document, and we changed it. So
Wow.
try to get with the program here in the
Good.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much. Does anybody have any questions for Kathy? I think you
Questions?
guys are doing a great job keeping our
Thank you.
seniors happy. We're
We're
very
trying.
pleased.
We got to visit down there a couple weeks ago during lunch service.
Yes.
And everybody
back.
was awesome. It was really, really cool to see everybody has their own jobs, and Angela is a whiz in the kitchen, and everybody
Absolutely.
did
Yeah,
an
they
awesome
love
job.
her.
It was cool to be there.
It's really nice.
Come on down.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So next up, we have a departmental report from Pete Connolly. He is a man with many hats, at least two. He's our cemetery superintendent, and he is also going to be giving us, and he's also our highway superintendent. So we are looking forward to hearing about both those departments and how it's going.
Okay, good evening.
Thanks so much.
Okay, so at the cemetery, all the grave sites that had burials since last October have been filled in with fresh topsoil and seed. All the flower beds have been cleaned out, and new plants have been placed there. In March, the men began working on the superintendent's cottage inside, doing a little rehab, some wall repair, and painting. And it came out very well. And the Ossining Historic Cemeteries Conservancy uses that now for their monthly meetings. So that's a good room for them. We look forward to the cottage repair work outside, hopefully in the next few months. And speaking of OHCC, they had their first cleaning of the headstones last week,
Well,
or 2 weeks ago.
this last week they were at Sparta.
Sparta,
And
all
we were
right,
at Dale
right,
a couple weeks ago.
2
Yeah.
weeks ago, right.
So they've done both.
So all the monument foundation orders, we pour the concrete for the monuments. That'll all be done Friday. We're starting at 8 o'clock with the assistance of a couple of members from Highway. And we look forward to the Monument Restoration Company coming back this year to fix the broken headstones, which are mostly down in the older sections, the old white ones you see. Sometimes they just break from the materials that they used over the years. We're trying out a new program with the Parks Department. They're going to come in once a week with their crew and with our members of the cemetery to cut the grass there. And I think we've done it 2 weeks now, and it works about, we get about 80% of it done. And then between our part-time help and one of the regular members of the cemetery staff, they finish up. Because you can imagine there's so much trimming with all the headstones there. So then one of the members of the cemetery staff helps out in the parks during the week also. So it's a give and take, and we're just utilizing manpower better in that regard. So and this Sunday is the Memorial Day breakfast for the Ossining Fire Department, and they'll be visiting the CSI Cemetery next to Dale Cemetery, and St. Augustine starting about 10 o'clock. Okay. On the highway side, I've been there about 6 weeks. It's been a busy 6 weeks. The crew has been busy repairing a lot of the potholes that was caused by last winter's weather. We will be preparing a list of streets for the board to consider that needs resurfacing in the next year or so, or maybe a 5-year plan down the line. We are continuing to clean the catch basins, and hopefully we're finished before the county places the mosquito prevention tablets in them. We have received the delivery of our new backup sewer pumps, which is for our 11 lift stations. These are all now stored at the highway garage. They're all labeled, and they'll be available for immediate use if we have any issues with any of the ones that might burn out. So that's a big plus, and it's good to have. Our concrete and masonry contractor is repairing approximately 400 feet of stone wall at the S-turn on Old Albany Post Road in Crotonville, just before Gerlach Park. This work includes reporting of the stone joints and the installation of drainage behind the wall. It's coming out very well. I'd say they're about 90% complete. And I'd like to thank town engineer Paul Frioli for his help and assistance in moving this project forward. So that's about all I have right now.
And also, when the scouts they usually go around and put the flags out.
The flags
in
are
the
in
cemetery?
already.
Oh, the flags are already in.
The veterans. Yeah, they
The
help the
veterans.
Veterans Associate. Yes,
Right.
I noticed that they are in already.
Okay,
Yeah.
Done that last weekend.
got it.
So that
Last weekend.
various fire department companies will place them also on
Right.
the deceased members' graves.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any questions for Mr. Connolly? No.
Okay.
Sounds
I have one.
fantastic.
What are you
It's really
How are you so fantastic?
Yeah.
That's my question.
Honestly,
Okay.
that was an
Sure.
absolute pleasure to hear your report. I do think that we're also looking to get some kind of a proposal to do a little fix to the old Albany Post Road extension, I guess is called. I don't know.
Well, we had a little drainage issue there, and because, as you remember, a few years ago it was totally upgraded, real nice job.
after the storm.
And but we had to put a swale in, and now with the wet weather, we have to go back. It's 90% complete, but we can't blacktop because the water comes off the hill into that swale. So once the swale dries out, the gutter, we will finish it up with blacktop. Yes, I've been in contact with, again, town engineer Paul Frioli, and to come up with a fix with that problem.
I also understand from your communications with me that you're also looking at all of our guardrails, and you're going to be
Guardrails,
coming
yes.
to us with a proposal for
Yeah.
guardrails that need to be replaced throughout the town, and we're going to try to come up with some kind of a plan, capital
Yeah.
plan.
I'm currently measuring them, and we'll get a proposal and a price on that. I forgot, we were also going to put screening at the pump stations at the S-turn. That came in, and Parker Vale pump station. They try to dress that up a little bit so you don't see the pumps and the generators, behind the fencing there. So that we did receive that. Now it's just a matter of time to get the men out
Fencing.
there to put that in. Yeah, it's not. It's the
Right, the
the
slats
slats
that go inside
between
of
the chain link. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. So
That'll just make it look a little
hopefully
bit
in
nicer.
the next few weeks we get some time. We get out of this catch-up mode, and with the potholes and stuff and the catch basins, we'll be able to get there.
Okay.
Okay.
Fantastic.
All right.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you.
All right. So, next, we were approached by 3 members of Ossney Girl Scout Troop 1298 to work on a very special project in pursuit of their Silver Award. Is that correct? Okay. I will admit this was a bit of a learning curve for the town, as no one on our staff, except for maybe one person in our parks department, even knew what a Gaga pit was before Sarah and Ariana brought this to our attention a few weeks back. So I would like to bring the girls up. They have a short presentation on what they and their troop leaders have proposed for Ryder Park, and then hopefully the town board can react. Can you slide one or the other?
Wait, watch the foot.
Oh, okay. You want me to stop? Maybe just. Okay. Hello. Make sure you introduce yourselves, okay? Please.
So this is our Gaga Ball proposal. I'm Sarah Jennings. I'm Sarah Gardner.
I'm Ariana Goodwin.
So we just want to talk about who we are. We are 3 members of Girl Scout Troop 1298, and we are working to complete our Silver Award. The Silver Award is a community-based project where we strive to give back to our town. Completing this award will enable us to move on to the Girl Scout Gold Award in the following years, which is the most prestigious achievement a Girl Scout can receive.
So our plan is that we would like to install a Gaga pit, in Ryder Park in Ossining, and we would cover all of the costs and build the pit ourselves with help from leaders. And we are very flexible with our plans and make adjustments as needed.
Okay, so what is Gaga Ball? Gaga Ball is a fun game that anyone ages 7 and up can enjoy, and it is played with only the people and the ball and the pit. The players stand inside the pit, and the object of the game is to get others out by hitting their feet with the ball. Should we do the video?
Do the video.
Mouse.
Oh, to the videotape. Fingers crossed. It works.
Don't.
So far. Yes.
Okay, so this is
That's fast.
Okay.
Uh-oh. There we go.
So yeah, that's a small example of, I guess you could say a round of Gaga.
Of around.
Yeah. So the rounds usually go on from like maybe 10 minutes until everyone gets out.
So for those of older ones of us in the audience, it's like dodgeball, except you don't throw the ball at the person from the waist down. You throw it from like the knee down or something like that. You don't
Kinda,
even
yeah.
throw it. You kind of like roll it. Got it.
So the rules and safety of Gaga Ball. So the game starts with someone throwing the ball straight up into the air and lets it bounce 3 times before the game begins. You can only hit the ball with your hands, and you're out if the ball hits you below the knees. If you hit the ball out of the pit, you're also out. And this game can be played like with mixed ages, but works best when playing in similar age groups. And it is played with a soft, like bouncy ball. Okay, building specifications. We will be purchasing the brackets and bolts and the instructions for the Gaga Ball pit from Coach Cliff's Gaga Ball pits. The pit will be hexagonal. It will be 30 inches in height and will have a diameter of 14.5 feet. We will include dips, which are like the downturned parts of the pit in the picture. So it's easier for shorter kids and for younger kids to step in and enter the pit.
You can use the little mouse to point to it, the picture,
Yeah.
if you want, right?
So here are the dips here, and we'd probably use about one of those on one side of the pit that shorter, smaller kids, so it's easier for them to enter the pit. The amount of space needed would be a minimum of 16 by 16 feet, and we were thinking that dirt or crushed stone would probably work best as the floor of the pit. As in Briarcliff, we actually visited one of the pits there, and they used crushed stone for the base.
So, for the location, the total square footage of area that would be needed would be 256 feet squared, and the picture shown on the screen is the area in Ryder Park which we plan to put the Gaga pit, and next to it is the size and shape of the pit.
So these are our estimated costs. So we will be completely covering the costs. The brackets and bolts are from Coach Cliff's Gaga Ball pits, and we estimate that to be around $450. Then we're going to get pressure treated wood, which we estimate to be about $200, and our total estimated cost is about $650. We will be fundraising and using money from personal cookie sales to pay for all needed supplies. And there has been discussion with the town of possibly using artificial turf as the floor of the pit, but this might be out of our budget. Many pits use dirt or crushed stone floor like the one in Briarcliff.
So for our contact information, you can contact either of us at the emails. Sarah Jennings is sarahdelij@yahoo.com. Sarah Gardner is sarahjg05@icloud.com, and I, Ariana Goodwin, am at anggumbel@gmail.com. And any questions, concerns, or future steps, you can contact any one of us.
And thank you so much for your time, and we'd like to open it up to any questions you may have.
Awesome. That is fantastic. If all you guys do is that, I think you should get your silver award.
I think it's a little more detailed.
Okay, so just to let the board know, we did have a chance to meet with Bill Garrison and Mary Avlardo, our parks foreman, and our recreation and parks superintendent out at the park to evaluate, and they thought that this was definitely possible. There is a tiny bit, even though you couldn't quite see it,
Incline.
of an incline, which they think that they will be able to easily level out without too much work, and they would we would have to get our union to sign off on allowing volunteers to do work in the park, because that's always part of what happens when we do this, because you could theoretically be taking away work from our men, but we don't usually have any problem getting those sorts of waivers, especially for scouts. So we would have to do that. Our building, our building department inspector, thank you. I like to come up with code enforcement officer, which he also is, was interested in seeing the kit that you were going to purchase and what it sort of said. And I think you might have sent that to me. You emailed that to me. So I don't know if I sent it off to him yet. He wanted to just take a look at what the instructions were in the kit and all of the safety regulations. And then he would presumably come by and just take a look at it after it had been built and put it into use. Just out of curiosity, how do people do they come with their own ball? They just come prepared with their own ball, or where would the balls be?
So we are thinking of attaching like a little bin, and it's going to have like about 6 balls in it. And after a while, people will start to bring their own balls if they can. But we'll provide some balls at the beginning for them to use.
Okay. And that would be covered, right? No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. A covered.
Yeah,
bin.
we'd be getting them from Coach Cliff's Gaga Ball pits, so they'd also be like official Gaga balls, not just like a kickball. So they're usually softer, the official ones, and lighter.
Got it. Okay.
Are they waterproof?
I'm not. I think they are.
Is it covered?
Right. So like the where you keep the balls will have a little like a
Yeah,
like
it's gonna
a
have
milk.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we
Lid.
don't want it to
Yeah.
collect,
Yeah.
collect water and be like a place for mosquitoes to hang out or anything.
Well, you were saying about the floor, what sand?
I think you said like
Crushed stones.
crushed stone,
Crushed
like a
stone.
stone dust kind of a thing.
I'm just thinking, what's that? Is that rock? So what's crushed stone?
The
Yeah,
same
they're-
stuff we did Cedar Park, Cedar Lane,
Yeah, it's Cedar Lane Park.
Trail with
It's
around the
stone
pond.
dust.
They're usually smaller than gravel, and it's also softer, so it's not as hard or as like bumpy and I guess you could say like rugged as gravel.
It's like powdery, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
And it's
you know,
really small
we one of the things we had talked about is we thought that the school district might still have some leftover turf. We had used some of the leftover turf for one of the batting cages, and that was a suggestion. I don't know. Had you reached out to the school district to see if they had?
Not yet. Not
No,
so far.
I mean that
Yeah.
might be worthwhile to just call the superintendent's office and maybe they can direct you to if there was any left over, or if they are planning to do another one that even if we can't do that right at the start, we might
Yeah.
be able to use some of the leftover turf because it just might be longer lasting. But I know that people have issues with that as well, so I don't know.
Yeah, we'll definitely look into that.
If it's free.
Yeah.
Right, exactly, right, free. But the other thing, we did discuss a couple of different surfaces, but you said that what they used in Briarcliff is the crushed stone,
stones. Yeah.
and that seems to be working out.
Yeah.
And
It seems to be
doesn't,
working
it doesn't
pretty
feel hurt. You know what I'm trying
Like
to
if you
say.
not
is
too
if
rough.
you
Fall on it.
Fall on it, you won't.
You don't get little bits of stone like stuck in you.
I don't think so. It was much softer, I found, than like actual like normal gravel that you would use like somewhere else.
It was just like dirt, kind of, just instead, just a different color, kind of. So.
Right.
Yeah, they're very soft.
Am I wrong? Isn't that what we used around the Cedar Lane Park?
Yeah, we use actually it was a white
Stone dust.
but
Yeah.
I can't remember
I
the
think that's the same
actual
stuff.
proper terminology, but whatever. It might be
Yeah,
item
it
4.
wasn't.
Yeah, it might be like a high grade item 4 that I think the one that they used
Oh, yeah.
in
Anyway.
the park is.
Now I know
We'll
what
figure
you're
it
talking
out.
about.
Softens up.
Item 4, I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
And the wood for the pit is
Thanks.
pressure treated.
Yes.
Is, okay.
Well, if they're happy with it, I am, because I won't hardly be playing. But
What? Come on, we're gonna be breaking it in. We're gonna have a team
challenging the
building
village.
town board Gaga game, right? Gaga, the town board versus Girl Scouts, I think, right?
No, they'll win. Definitely. Town board versus
Especially
village.
with your okay,
Anyway,
okay.
yeah. So I hadn't heard of Gaga before, but since I looked it up afterwards, and it looks like it could be fun and a great addition to our park. So thank you for thinking of it.
Now, in terms of the timing, I know I know that Bill Garrison, our parks, our superintendent of Parks and Rec, was interested in this because he thought it would be a great asset for the summer camps. And there are summer camps at Ryder, and he thought that they would really like that. It would be a great addition. So I don't know, camp starts July 1st. Did you have any hopes of achieving this before then, or is that going to be an impossibility?
Yes, we were hoping to be able to get it before then because we have to have our entire Silver Award done before September 30th of this year anyway for
Right.
the Girl Scout Council. But yes, we've been starting.
We're just starting to fundraise now, and we're hoping to be done towards the end of June. And if we can start building before camp starts, that would be great. But that might not happen. We might have to change our plans.
Okay.
But it's definitely our goal to be able to
Okay.
get done by then.
Maybe just in the middle.
So-
I just want to know one thing. Has this Gaga, whatever, has it been around for a while? Does a lot of people know about it?
No.
Not many people actually do know about it. I'm actually not sure how long it's been around, but it actually originated from like an Israeli game because Gaga actually means Ga means touch in Israelian. So
Hebrew.
it originated from there. But I'm not really sure how long it has been around for.
You know, the reason I asked that is we were talking I heard you just said putting it in the parks. If you don't know what it's for,
Oh yeah. Well, the kids. I mean, it does seem like kids do know what it.
Yeah, the
what
kids
it-
seem to know.
Yeah, they seem to know what it is.
Our age
Okay.
group did.
Yeah.
all right.
Upfit also has one.
They play it
Okay.
in the school sometimes
Yeah,
as well.
they have an inflatable one, I think, at Brookside,
Yeah.
Claremont.
Claremont, one of those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, there would be like a plaque attached to the side talking about the rules and
good.
safety of Gaga.
And have all the instructions. And
I'm sure they'll know.
A plaque with rules. Is that what you're hoping for? Okay. We have a plaque with rules. Awesome. Wonderful. I think this sounds terrific.
All right,
And-
one more thing. Are you reaching out to the community for your fundraising? Did you want to talk about what you were going to be doing while you're on camera so that people might want to help you with that?
Yeah, so far I have contacted the farmers market and we are hoping to set up a booth there. They haven't gotten back to us yet, but we're hoping to do something along those lines. Also, we've contacted Muya because we know that they do some fundraising events there. We're still waiting to hear back from them as well. So, we're
And
hoping.
we were also going to try to plan to go to different businesses in Austining and possibly ask for different donations. So we made a list of a couple of places that we definitely want to approach and ask if they would like to donate.
I wonder if you can also do something online because that's sometimes a very easy way. Especially if it's
yeah,
you're not
yeah.
allowed to do that.
We're not allowed to do
You're
any
not allowed
of the
to do that.
GoFundMe or crowdfunding. kind of
Okay.
things
Good to
for Girl Scouts.
Oh wow.
So I'm going to assume that the farmers market's probably going to say yes. So if anybody wants to help support these lovely ladies in their endeavor, keep an eye out for them there.
Absolutely. Take a look. We'll
And
out for
and
the
look at
farmers
the,
market.
Muya does have a lot of great fundraisers.
Oh, Muya. Is that what you
Yeah, they said
Okay.
Muya. Yeah, so Muya is known for donating a portion of sales. So if you see that they're doing that, go on down, get a meal, and help support this great project.
Banana chocolate milkshake. I think.
And chocolate milkshake.
They did.
Sorry,
Okay.
off topic.
Yes, just slightly, but not really. Okay. Well, anyway, thank you so much. It was a great presentation. It's very exciting, and it seems like it's going to be a great community benefit. And you will have had a wonderful experience, beginning, middle, and hopefully end. I always like to knock on wood for a little.
And thank
Get
you for
superstitious.
doing all that you're doing for our community. And we're
Right, so I think-
appreciative of all the scouts do.
So,
Thank you,
unless there are
guys.
any objections from any of the town board, which I don't think there are, I don't think we've ever had to do anything more formal than just say, okay, this sounds great. So the next steps would be to get, maybe get me a timeline, and then I will continue to share that with Mario and with Phil Garrison, and we will make sure that we do whatever we can to coordinate the timing for you with our sign-offs and everything else, okay? All right, fantastic. Thanks
Thank
so
you so
much.
much.
Thank you.
Guys, take
Have a
care.
great night. Oh, yeah, and you need your flash drive. Okay. Next,
Next.
we
Why are you
are
looking at me?
going to talk about CPI HR. For the past several years, we have used Mike and Kristen from the firm CPI HR to process our Affordable Care Act documentation. And I do know you have school tomorrow. At least I think you have school tomorrow, unless there's like a day off or something like that. That's coming up. But if you do
yeah.
not want to stay for the remainder of the meeting, You do
You're allowed to go.
You may leave. You do not have to stick around, okay? Okay. Thank you so much again. Have a great night. So anyway, we have used Mike and Kristen from CPI HR to process our Affordable Care Act documentation and keep us in compliance. It's time to start a new contract, and we would like the board to give us the okay to put it on the agenda for next Tuesday. Does anyone have questions or comments about this contract, this process with Affordable Care, with the Affordable Care Act documentation or anything? And if so, Maddie would be the person to ask those questions too. Or Maddie, do you have any?
Yeah, I'll just give a very quick. I believe this is the 4th contract that we've done with them. They've not increased their price. They bill us quarterly. Their service has been exceptional. We actually got the village hooked up with them too, so they use them as well. But basically, the Affordable Care Act paperwork, regardless of sort of what state it's in at the federal level, is incredibly onerous on the municipality. So not only do we need to be keeping track of payroll hours, but we also need to send reports to them regularly about who is on our medical insurance as well as which dependents. And then we have to mail something to each of those employees and retirees at the end of the year to file with their taxes. You might have gotten it from your employers at 1095C. So it's an incredible amount of work, and we get an incredible amount of value from the team that they have there. Our finance office also helps to run some of the reports that they need to come out of payroll. It's very easy. We seamlessly upload it into their system. They will give us a gentle reminder if we've not done it on a monthly basis. And then at the end of the year, they ask us a couple of questions about how we'd like the paperwork to be mailed and filed, and we're all done. So it's very easy. I'd like to ask that you please approve this contract next week on the agenda.
All right. Anybody have any questions?
No, I've seen this paperwork. It's horrible.
Yeah.
I'm happy not to have our staff have
You
to.
want to take this on?
I've seen it once or twice.
You don't want to take it on? You don't have an extra free time on your hand? You can
No,
take it over
no,
if you
no,
want.
no,
Okay.
no.
All right. No more questions.
So
We're good. We're
Okay.
happy. We're very thrilled
Yes.
that somebody's taking on this onerous task.
Thank you.
Okay. So next, we are going to be talking about our dog run and dog park. We have been discussing this topic for the past month or so on and off due to the need for some clarity about a variety of issues at the Cedar Lane Dog Park, but also at the Ryder Park unofficial dog run. It was suggested by council, Ms. Adana, that we go back to the Recreation Advisory Board to learn about the rules they had adopted for the Cedar Lane Dog Park and consider extending them to the dog run at Ryder, and also that we draft a local law so that we have something official on the books to dictate how these spaces are used and by whom. We've also discussed a few other ideas that may help us to streamline the dog ownership process for our residents. A few weeks back, the ability to renew your dog license online became an option for Ossining residents. So if you didn't know that, if you have to renew your dog license, you can do that online now. You don't have to come into the office. If you have a new dog or you and your dog are new to Ossining, you will still have to complete a paper form the first time round, so we'll be happy to see you here at 16 Croton Avenue. We are considering a way to couple the transaction for renewing a dog license and or getting your dog license for the first time with the dog park membership, as we have discovered on this journey that most folks visiting the dog park have not taken the time to register. Before we dive into the local law and the recreation advisory suggestions, I want to remind everyone that yesterday, May 20th, was National Dog Rescue Day. Spring and summer is a time when a lot of people look to bring a new pet into their homes, and we are fortunate enough to have the SPCA right here in our backyard in the unincorporated town on North State Road. I believe what they say about rescue animals. They never forget who saved them. If you're considering adding something furry to your family, please consider adopting before shopping. So with that, let's dive in to the local law, and hopefully I have not seen my copy of it. Did somebody get my copy of it right here? Maybe. It's probably right here. It's right. No, I have it. I take it back. I got it. It's right here. Okay. Okay. So, what are we doing here? Are we just going? Let's just go. Do you want to talk a little bit?
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. A little directions. Always nice.
You currently have on the books chapter 74 entitled Dogs. Article 1 is control of it. Is
Right.
control of dogs, which deals with restrictions on dogs being leashed if they're running at large. So not necessarily related to the whole concept we're looking at right now. Although if as part of this whole process you wanted to take a look at that and see if you wanted to make any changes, I don't see anything wrong with that, but that wasn't what I looked at for the purposes of giving you a draft of this, just because it wasn't really relevant. Article 2 is licensing and license fees, which based upon what the supervisor was saying earlier would be somewhat relevant, because part of what the town board had discussed doing was also consolidating and simplifying the process for licensing, as well as getting registered for access to the dog parks and having that all happen in one process. So the way the draft that I provided to you, which just as a caveat before we start, is very much that, just a draft that I kind of used the comments I've received from all of you in the past. I looked at the current existing rules and regulations on the signage that exist in the dog park, and just kind of tried to get something on paper so that to make it easier for you guys to move forward. So it includes Article 2 as well, which is the licensing section, in italics, which is just basically subsection C in 74-10, because it talks about licensing and it just references registration for the parks. So that's the only proposed addition as of now that I incorporated initially in Article 2. And then if you skip forward, you'll see that all of Article 3 is italicized because that's the new language. And so this was basically just incorporating the concepts that had been discussed. I know the supervisor had indicated to me that that she had noticed some things that need to be changed with respect to how the villages within the town are treated. So we can certainly talk about that, and I'm happy to make any changes that you want. And so the different provisions are just registration for dog parks, registration fees, regulations for the dog parks, and then I think penalties and violations. And of course, you know, it's up to the board what they want to do, but my understanding from the initial comments was that because it isn't policed all that often, that the penalties be relatively high in order to deter violations at the outset and get people to register before they get to that point.
And just the regulations for dog parks at 1 through 16, that's taken directly from the signage, or did you add anything to that?
I mean, honestly, maybe. Some of them were more suggestions that I didn't really think could be codified into law. Like one said, please do not use choke, prong, or spike collars while in the park. I don't know if that's something you want to codify into law. Please fill in any holes your dog makes. Like, I'm not sure how you put that in a local law. Those
Got
are more
it.
like etiquette suggestions, you know, at least that was my
Right.
impression.
Got it.
But I mean, I could certainly provide, these are the two documents that I worked off of that the supervisor had provided to me. And I tried to incorporate as many concepts as possible that I thought could be reasonably enforced. Dogs showing aggression toward people or other animals will be removed. Animals who exhibit a history of aggressive behavior will not be permitted. So that's not included in the rules, but I thought it was an important concept to try to incorporate. And so you'll see in 7421D, under Superintendent of Recreation, it gives the superintendent the authority to kind of monitor that situation, and if it comes to his attention, so that, you know, so that the board doesn't have to sit here and say, okay, well, if they show their teeth at a dog once or twice, you know, I mean, then it gets a little bit into the nitty gritty. So there are some that I just kind of, the only animals permitted in the dog parks are dogs. I just thought that made sense. Us cat people are so sad.
What about humans? Okay.
So yeah,
Somebody might misinterpret it and think humans aren't allowed.
all right. So I'm hoping that
Are humans animals? Humans are mammals.
so are dogs. Sorry.
Yes.
Anyway, I thought one of the things we were going to try to do, and I know we need to have more conversations with the dog park people, and to having a dog park board, because I think, like the first non-serious incident, where dogs are showing, fighting with another dog, normally would have been handled by the dog park board, wouldn't have gone straight to the superintendent. I know we don't have a board in place right now, and I'm hoping that we can work on that kind of in conjunction with this, because having the superintendent of parks getting every call when the dog growls, or when two dogs get into it is kind of onerous on him.
I don't disagree with you. That was just kind of me going, okay, who would be an appropriate person to oversee this?
So historically, before there wasn't a board, and still it would, people that are there, my understanding is there might be people who are interested in forming.
Right, but I mean, the biggest issue with the board is that people come and go, whereas
Right.
you know that you have a person who's hired to the position of superintendent of Parks and Recreation. So
Right.
I don't.
No, I
think-
get
mean,
that.
I think that we could put in, if there is a volunteer board, then
Yeah,
it could
if
go
I
to
need-
them
you
like,
know-
like almost like like the
Well, if for the first incident would be handled by the dog park board. If no board, then the superintendent
Correct.
would handle it.
right.
Multiple incidents would have to be referred to the superintendent, or something, Yeah,
And
there's-
it's not necessarily about referral. It's just the superintendent is required to take action if it's brought to his attention. So I don't know if there needs to be a mechanism as to how that would happen, but yeah, my understanding was there wasn't a board, there hadn't been a board in a while, and so I don't know if you want to rely upon that and create a board, like you have the recreation
well, yeah, so I
advisory
have
board.
I have other parts of this conversation, which is automatically registering everybody, and I know it's a difficult licensing, like with the software challenge, but maybe we could have people who opt into joining a dog park are more likely to work together as a team and be, dog park members as a member of a group, as opposed to you pay your license fee, you also get the dog park. That's more like a town-run entitlement, and I think it works better as a member group. So I don't know how to do that other than, can we add a, neutered dog park category and a neutered no dog park category? Is there another way to add another licensing fee group?
This would be a question for either Victoria or one of the clerks, because I have no idea what the software can do.
Right. So letting them opt in as they register their dog and having the conversation would be somebody who's interested in being a part of a membership group and working together, as opposed to, yeah, you've paid for it, and then people come and go, well, I paid for this in my taxes, so I'm coming here and I'll do what I want.
The hardest thing about the opting
different-
in is monitoring the annual re-upping of the in other words, like how are we monitoring? There's nobody sitting there, like at the rec, you have to come and get a new recreation card every year, right?
Right.
If
Well,
you don't have your
yeah,
recreation
so
card, they don't let you in.
I think changing
There's
the
a
color
person-
of the
But there's a
registration
person there looking. There's nobody looking at the dog park.
yet. That's
But-
another
But
conversation.
again, I mean, I think that's why we went to the mandatory registration. If you have, the thought about saying basically, if you want, if you have your dog licensed, you're also getting permission, and we're going to, actually reduce the fee so that it's a nominal fee. I don't know, we were talking about like $15 or something for the year. And then I understand what you're saying. And maybe there is another way, another mechanism, Friends of the Dog Park mechanism, where you you get to be on the board, or you get some other privilege to be a member of the Friends of the Dog Park. I don't know if that was
Right.
ever an official group or not. I mean, it could be set
There
up as
was
a
one. There was a
committee or
official
not.
dog
I don't know
park
if it was a
group.
not-for-profit, and then they could fundraise. But it seems to me like that, I mean, we have a bunch of different issues here. I understand that people are more committed if
If they choose it, as
they
opposed to it's
choose-
forced upon them.
I guess that the force upon them, I understand what you're saying. However, people are not currently annually going back and re-registering and choosing. And
Currently, right.
we currently,
But they're also
but
saying,
but it's the nature of groups, volunteer groups like this. The nature of the beast. Thank you. It's the nature of the beast for these groups to ebb and flow. So we're
Absolutely.
going to have the ebbs, and then we're going to be right back where we started, where we have a lot of people who are using the dog park who haven't paid for the privilege of doing so.
But we will have the enforcement where if you're there and you're not supposed to be there.
But who's enforcing? That's the
Well, that's another conversation where we have somebody who goes around and looks at all the parks that are in operation, and somebody can stop by once a weekend, twice a weekend,
right. Well,
and say, that's not a heavy lift for whoever our parks guy is. Instead of just watching this person barbecue for 10 hours,
yeah,
they
but the
can
barbecue
conceivably
pit,
go in.
I mean, the people who are barbecuing or not versus the dogs going, after the person who's trying to enforce. That's different. I don't know. Somebody's dog is going to say, "I don't care."
I mean,
a little intimidating.
also,
Same
we
with
were
the
not-
boat launch. You have to pay your fee. I don't want to. It's a problem. If they say I don't want it,
Somebody-
call the police.
Go up and give somebody a ticket for $1,500 or something like that.
I think some of these are a little
You're
high.
gonna need some enforcement or something. You can't just walk up and
Right,
think they're
that's the
gonna
thing.
take
I
that.
think you need police to be enforcing this.
'cause-
You
Okay,
need them
so
to
we
be
have a
issuing
conversation
tickets,
what
and then
the-
they
what
need
that
to either
looks like.
plead guilty or they need to be convicted. Like it needs to be a regular violation, like you would violate the noise
If
code.
you walked up or I walked up and tell somebody this, you may just get punched. If that's all. No, but I'm not. trying to
Okay,
be
so
funny.
is
I'm
it a
trying to tell you the
conversation we
truth.
have with the police department asking would they be willing to send an officer up once or twice a weekend at random times, or just randomly when it's not busy around to go check? Does everybody have your ID? You think that would be something they would do?
I don't know. I guess.
I mean, we're going to have to do that anyway, regardless if it's half the people or all the people.
Right. So the question is,
Yeah, it's gonna
how
have to
many
be
people
enforced.
get their dogs licensed? Which I don't.
I don't know that
Even though I
number.
know, I see these on a regular basis. I don't think I know what the total.
Marion said this morning that many people do. So
Right.
I don't know what
So many people
means.
get their dogs licensed, but more importantly, how many people don't get their dogs licensed? I guess is the question. So if all the people who got their dogs licensed now know you also have a permit to use the park, are we gonna have more people using the park? I don't know. Maybe, and that could be the parks. Maybe that could be a good thing. Building awareness that the parks are there. You're getting this tag and you're getting this tag, and then I guess again, it's like many things that we have where we have these laws in place, but most of the enforcement comes from peer pressure, right? So if everybody's tag is blue, except for Max's tag is red, then everybody's like,
Hey Max,
Hey,
before
Max's
you get
owner.
fined, you might
Yeah.
want to go up re-up that.
right. So before we get any further, I just wanted to, let everybody know. I think that it's important that we go
Say it.
ask.
What do you have to say about the regulations? Do you like them?
Aw,
Wagging his tail.
That means yes.
Oh.
might need no. Aw, he's cute.
Problem. Do you sometimes find dogs that are intimidating that you don't like to be in here?
Aw,
Or you're like too tough?
you're interviewing the dogs.
I did interview the
Is your dog
dogs.
black or
Okay.
white?
He's cute.
Any
It
other
would.
comments?
I would have.
He's wearing the
loved to have
inappropriate
seen
collar.
him Talk to you.
Can you talk to me?
And you wouldn't be here tonight.
Luckily, I was on the other side of the fence. No, he was very cute.
Um,
I did go out and interview a dog today, so I just want to let you all know that I did get some positive feedback.
Positive feedback from the idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
I left you guys.
Another thing is I think the fees are a little
stiff.
stiff.
Yeah.
But it's so much.
So that was
congestion.
what
They
had been
were gonna direct
previously
me to
discussed.
and
If the
all
board wants to change it.
Oh, they said 400 and 1,000? I mean, I thought it was.
dog in that fight.
that. No, no,
Okay,
no.
sorry, we're kind of all talking at once. I think this is falling
I
apart.
didn't even mean that.
All right,
sorry,
sorry.
we were just we were saying that we both went. I actually went up there this afternoon after we did the flagpole.
They had all of that work going on. He said, "You can go through." I said, "No, that's okay. I'll just go back."
Oh,
Oh,
but
what
I don't know
work
which
going
direction
on?
you went because I
No, I
didn't have
went
any-
down. No, it was no trouble with a lot of people up there. Doing
Really?
whatever they're doing.
I didn't see. That's what I'm saying. I didn't. Oh, you mean at right next door? I didn't see
At
anything.
Sunshine?
Yeah, I mean, I went down White Birch right to Cedar Lane, and
Yeah, that's when I left.
I didn't have any. I didn't see any work.
But it's no.
Okay. Anyway, no, and Kendra was there with her dog. That's whose dog that
Aw.
was. Yeah. So anyway,
So
sorry.
I'm sorry. Before,
Okay.
I just want to try to resolve issues to the extent we can so
Okay.
that I can get some guidance. So
Right.
are we okay with the registration
restarting?
being required or
Well, that's what we're discussing.
right?
I mean,
but we had moved
Right.
on to penalties. So I just want
All right, yeah,
to
then I need to take a step back. You're
and
right.
actually try to the extent we can resolve or
Okay.
address issues. And
Okay,
maybe-
so, I just don't want people that are automatically registered feeling like, well, I'm entitled to be here and I don't have to follow the rules. And I mean,
you're entitled to be there.
you're
You're
entitled to
not
be there.
Entitled to not follow the rules, but that's always true.
I mean, it's just having it be non-optional. I feel makes it less of a group that's going to work together on something that was forced upon you as opposed to something you chose. And I feel like it's a different feeling that people are going to get and less likely to work together. Like, this is something our town makes us do great, as opposed to, hey, we all chose to be here. And I mean, the dog park was formed by people who wanted to make this for their dog and work together and fundraise and really worked really hard to make it happen. And it kind of fell apart when there was no working together to keep it going, kind of a thing.
So these
Which,
seem to
I know.
be two
Different.
divergent paths.
Right.
And I'm not sure how this exists with that concept. Not to say
Right.
that
No.
that's-
I get
I
that.
mean, I don't know where to, because if you want to have a board that's overseeing this and doing everything and has to make it, and it's optional, then a lot of the concepts that I think kind of were driving this in the first place no longer apply. So I'm just trying to get a feel for what the board thinks about that.
Okay.
I mean, do you disagree?
I'm not sure I totally agree.
Okay.
Which is different than disagreeing. I think that you can still have these rules and regulations promulgated by the board as the rules of the dog park and the dog run with the oversight of a volunteer friends group. Because we do kind of have similar things. Maybe it's not in the code for the
Community
garden, for example. So I don't think it's impossible. I just think obviously some of the pieces would be different. So there's not, required registration when you get your dog license, for one thing. I think it would make the online registration piece of it harder. But if we're going to tell people that they're going to get a tag anyway, then they still are going to have to go physically get that tag. So I don't know if the online registration even helps.
Well, if you're renewing online, oh, you just get one license and you never get another tag? That's sad. Okay. I was just thinking that you could change it like a rabies shot, like a rabies tag. Every year the rabies tags are a different color.
No, I know.
You're saying
So,
the same thing, but
yeah.
Dana's saying if you do it online, you're still going to have to at some point either have something mailed
Mail
to
it
you.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. We don't mail them. I mean, I don't see a problem with mailing it.
I
Except
don't
for
know
the
the answer
cost.
to that question.
Right.
But, yeah. Then
So I'd like to look into, mailing it and having the tags different colors, different years, and.
Right. I mean, right. So that's all. Those are all.
Right.
We're talking about the law now. So let's
Right.
not talk about the little details.
Okay.
Let's
Well,
focus on the
So the law,
overarching.
the law
point of the
in my
law.
mind was not everybody has to register. It was that you have an option to register.
Right, and I understand that, but we're talking about the pros and cons right now, and
Right.
there's the big con is that we don't know if we have a group of people who want to be a volunteer board. Because we don't have a volunteer board now, our
It's on us.
registration has fallen apart, and we
True.
don't have any volunteer. We don't have any registrations. Basically, people are just going. And
Apparently, we now have a bunch.
Okay, so we might have a few now because we told people that they had to go register. But again, if we put something in place to regulate the use, then we have something to use as enforcement. Even if we're not handing out
No, I
tickets
get
for
that.
$1,000,
Yeah, that's another thing.
we at least have some way to say if you are going to take advantage of our facilities in a way that isn't beneficial to the overall use of that facility, then there will be repercussions. And if we have a law and if we have mandatory registration, it might make it easier for all of those things to happen. I don't know. I mean, we could try it for a year, and if it turns out that it's a big mess, then we can.
I mean, I think the online registration is going to be huge. And almost all of this looks great. You know, I read it.
Tear it
We'll
apart.
get through it. Tear it apart. All right. But, all right. I mean, we could try it for a year and see how it works out. I mean, it might introduce people to the idea that there is a dog park that don't know there's a dog park.
That they're supposed to be registered for the dog park, which I think was one of the big issues, right?
Yeah,
See, I'm
I mean,
sorry,
some
say it
people
again.
were saying.
Or that people didn't know.
Doesn't
they were
the sign
supposed to
say-
register for the dog
Does.
park.
Doesn't the
Actually,
sign
check-
say you have to be registered? I mean, you know, there's a big stop sign
Yes,
and,
that's what I
and
was,
rules.
That's why I was there.
So,
Actually,
so
I was taking
not
pictures.
saying I didn't know I had to be registered when there's a big red stop sign and rules
Right.
that say you must be
Well, then
registered.
people still weren't doing it. They
Yeah, and they were
ignoring it.
saying they didn't know. So, I mean, now there's a.
So it's one or the other, and either way, you need to try to.
There's a big
The
stop
goal,
sign.
my understanding from this
Is
board
to
was
try to
to
get
try
people
to solve that problem.
Okay.
Dog park entry.
Um,
I can't read it because it's behind.
Yeah.
It's like behind the.
Doesn't she have that right there on a piece of paper?
Is that what? No, I don't think it's. Do you have the sign that says the dog park entry? I have
These
it,
are the
on the
two signs.
rules.
Oh, here.
oh, I have this.
Owners are
This?
responsible for the dogs.
that's-
Yeah, that one.
For the license.
That's what she's trying to read.
Oh yeah, what does that say?
You must have. Well, yeah, it's so faded, and you must have an Ossining dog park card to use the dog park.
Animals should wear collar and ID tags at all time. Owners must clean up after their dogs. Dogs showing aggression.
That's
Leaving the
different.
Park. Animals exhibit history, whatever.
All right, and she has all this in here, which is great.
Right. It actually doesn't say right here on the rules that you have to have anything. It doesn't say that at all. It just says that on the stop sign, which is hidden behind a fence, making it almost impossible to read.
Okay.
So I don't know, maybe make it bigger.
Or move the sign over.
Dog park entry.
The font is also faded.
Yeah, it got wet. Those signs need to be replaced. I think is what it comes down to.
And if you want to try everybody at first, I mean, at least it'll create an awareness and let everybody try it. And then if
I mean, again, how would we do that?
I'm just hoping to, you know, I think if
Just put something in place and then revisit it in a year.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, one of the challenges that they ran into when it went to the rec department, it used to be somebody would pass around a hat and there was, you know, the treasurer would walk around and say, everybody pay your dues and walk around, you know, a few times in the evenings and on the weekends, and everybody would take a 20 out of their wallet and pay their dues for the year and be all paid up. And that was the dog park fee, and they used it for things to improve the park. And that was all good, and it was the Friends of the Dog Park people. And when it moved to the rec department, nobody also wanted to pay for a Friends of group. They were like, well, I already paid over here. I don't also want to pay over here. So that's how that started to fall apart. And I don't know how they can, you know, how you can differentiate between Friends of the Dog Park or encourage them to pay a membership to that as well as, although this is pretty cheap. So, yes.
I was going to say, what the supervisor recommended, I think actually sounds like a pretty smart idea to do like a pilot for a year. And then once you've shown people like how to comply, this is really just something that's going to be set in the fee schedule by this board. So every January you'll have a crack at raising or lowering what the registration fee is and tying it or not tying it to a dog park fee.
And you have to also you will have seen what's going to happen or what is happening, and you can change things
Right.
at that time.
So if you get one good year under your belt where people are complying, you can say, okay, we're going to drop it back down to $10 and feel free to pass a hat and we'll do it differently this time.
So we spending more time on the dog park than we did all those trucks we just bought for Mike.
Dogs are more important.
It must be.
The other thing is that, you know, this is still pretty early on in the process, and before you can adopt a local law, you'll
And we're
have to
gonna
hold
have
a public
feedback from-
hearing.
Okay.
And you'll certainly, I would think, want to have the clerk's office, recreation, parks, all
we'll
of
have
the
to learn a
town
little more.
departments that are going to be police, that are going to have to be involved to varying extents, weigh in on what their thoughts are about this. Now, the question would be, you know, do you want to start to get some of that impact, that
Yes.
input early on
I think we
before you
should.
get to the public hearing process?
I think we should do that. I think we should
Yes.
send it out to everybody right now who has a piece of this basically.
Is there any other department you can think of
I
besides the
think
ones
you
I
named
just
them
named?
all.
Okay.
So it was recreation parks, parks
Clerks.
department, clerk's office,
Police.
and police. Yes, and then, I mean, if there, and then if there is,
And
the
anybody
rec
who
advisory board, rec advisory, which we've gotten some feedback already from Councilwoman Shaw,
Right.
and she is our liaison to the rec advisory, and she shared a number of thoughts, which I think you had
Yes.
seen even before the draft. So
Yeah,
you
those seem
incorporated-
to be, to a certain extent, more like global big picture, kind of like what Councilwoman Feldman is talking about.
Right.
as opposed to a law. I get
Right.
that.
Users are confused as to what the role of the parks crew is in maintaining the dog park. I don't know the answer to that. So, and I'm not sure that that can be codified in the law.
Yeah, we, like I clean your parks day, like we do in many of the other parks. We can have a couple of those. That's what that used to be done, was a couple of work days. Hey, clean up. Let's put some new wood chips down and do that. And apparently, we can have a clean your parks day, but not ongoing. We'll have to have another conversation about what's allowed in the terms of people working or maintaining the park, as far as filling in holes with wood chips or putting fresh wood chips on areas that they feel are needing.
And the other issue that we really haven't focused on at all is because we've just been talking about the dog park at Cedar Lane Park, is that we also have this dog run at Ryder, which was created as a way to give people a place to bring their dogs so that they didn't take unfair advantage of our ball fields.
And leave
with their
deposits?
dogs. And leave deposits, yes.
Yes. For the kids to find while playing?
Exactly. And apparently that's happening again since we had the dog run closed until they could repost the rules.
Oh, wow.
So we'd like to make sure that that is open again with the rules posted so people can go back to using that, but we wanted to make sure that we had legitimate rules in place at some point. We don't know how quickly these are going to be able to be adopted, but what we'd like to do is make sure that they apply to both. And that's another advantage, remember, is that we're giving people access to both these spots.
Right. So do we want to put a set of the rules that's posted
Yes.
at the dog park
We
over
have a
there?
set.
Okay, do we want to do that temporarily while we're in the process
Yes.
so they can start using that instead of our fields?
Yes,
Because that would be really great. Okay, good.
I've already asked them to do
Thank
that.
you.
That was, a couple weeks ago. So I think they just didn't get to it yet. So anyway, yes, we do want to
Okay.
do that.
So,
You want to just run through it?
Sure.
sure.
So I think we talked about registration. So I had defined non-resident dogs based upon my understanding from the board's previous conversations. Residents versus non-residents were going to be charged differently. Obviously, only the unincorporated town, because those are the only people. No, let me finish my sentence. Only the unincorporated town, because those are the only people required to get licensed.
No.
Under this, the town can only legislate for the unincorporated town.
Okay, but apparently the clerk. Go ahead.
Right. So the clerk's office, whenever they take a dog license, whether the person lives in the village or the unincorporated town, the money goes to the town as opposed to the village.
It's a
So,
function of the clerk, I guess, to the town
It's a
clerk.
function of the town clerk.
Town clerk. to
So
issue
all village
dog
residents.
licenses.
Right. So,
Licensed
so I
with the
guess the
town.
question would be, under the village code, are village residents also required to license their dogs?
Yes.
Through the town clerk.
I know, but I'm looking at the town code, and that
No.
can only regulate.
We can find
what
out.
the
We'll find out.
unincorporated town
Yeah.
does.
We'll find out.
So, the question would be what the town code requires, because you can't make village residents do anything. I mean, if they're using your
Well-
parks, you can make them register, but
They also live in the town.
That's the thing. It's a dog living within the
They
town.
live in the village.
But they also live in the town.
okay, but this doesn't apply to the whole town. This only applies to the unincorporated town.
Okay.
All right.
It's a little
We'll have to maybe get with Marion and
The,
Stuart.
the license, so
yeah.
the licensing provision, all dogs in the unincorporated area of the town of Ossining must be licensed.
Mhm.
That's existing.
Okay.
So,
Right.
so as it's currently on your books,
Okay. Fair.
Okay, I'm feeling like the village may have all dogs licensed within the village, must be licensed with the town of Ossining.
Right. And so then the other question was, where does Briarcliff Manor come into this? Because do they get licensed through the town as well?
I don't know the answer to that question. So we're going to just assume that they don't and that we'll look into it. But I believe that they probably get licensed through the village of Briarcliff. But they would still have equal access to
At the same
Same
rate
rate.
as unincorporated and Village of Ossining
Correct.
residents.
Anybody within the confines of the town.
And so obviously it would be easier for village residents because presumably they're going through the same process as unincorporated town residents and will be paying the same fee. But anyone in the village of Briarcliff would have to independently register at the resident fee, and then anyone outside of the incorporated, like
Would
the
need to be
entire
able
thing,
to register
would
at
need
a.
to also separately register at a non-resident fee.
Correct.
Is the way it was understood to me by the board. If you want it to be different, you
Right.
certainly.
So we have to understand if the software can support that many categories.
Right. So yeah. So these are all things that I guess Victoria or the clerk's office would have to weigh in on. So
For the record, still now the dog park registration is going through rec.
I know.
Okay,
They're-
so
I'm
I just
watching-
want to.
Oh, and that was the other thing. Can we reach out on? The only way I know how to reach any dog park members is on their Facebook group. But if we can ask them for input or at
Oh,
least
yeah.
tell that, the only way to, post something on
so
their
I think
Facebook
we should
group
get our
from the town of Ossining.
let's just get this a little bit cleaned up before we
Okay,
put
yeah,
it out,
absolutely.
right? Like just so we make sure that the police are on board and that the
Right.
parks are more, and the rec board, and then we'll bring the next step would be to kind of reach out to
Yeah.
the dog park users and make sure
Right.
that
Do
we
you
get
have an
some input.
organization in place, or is there one forming, or would you,
No, we're gonna get their input on the law.
Right.
Right.
Okay. that's
Okay.
fine.
And then we can talk to them. I'm not saying we can't talk to them about this.
Okay.
I'm just saying
Yeah.
we want to get input
I'm trying.
on
I know. I
the law.
keep putting them back together.
Right. So
They don't go
and they go together, or they do go together, but we just have to keep, we just have to stay focused on the two different, like there's two different pieces.
So I get it. We can't enforce anything without legislation. So we'll
Correct.
work on the legislation that is enforceable, and then we'll work on the rest. Is that?
Yes.
Okay. Fine.
Yeah. I mean, again, we can work on those simultaneously, but they're two different things.
Okay.
That's all. I'm just trying to.
So I think everyone was on board with the tag.
I think that is a good idea, and I do like the idea of having different colors. One of the things I was going to say that came up at our we did have as I mentioned earlier, a staff meeting this morning, and we talked about this coming up this evening, and talked briefly with the clerk about the notion of having instead of having rolling license, like you go in there and my dog gets licensed every year in November, having just a day, all licenses are up, like May 31st. Oh, is that right? That's what I think we said.
Right.
May
31st.
Right, May 31st, or June 1st. All, it's time to renew your license for next year, and then we could like prorate. We could either do it monthly, or we could do it quarterly, or half. Half a year you pay half the rate. If you do it after whatever, December, you pay half or whatever. But that would mean that every year at the same time, June, you have to get a new license and a new dog park registration.
So my question for that is: are they picking a month where that office
Yes.
is not that busy?
Correct.
Because the primaries are in June now.
We picked a month. They thought that was a good.
That was their suggestion.
That was their
Okay.
suggestion. It would
They-
have to
they
be
haven't done a
done by
primary.
June 1st. It would have to be
Okay, done by June
They have done primary.
last
Not-
year in June.
No, not in June. But
Okay,
they've
I was
done
gonna say a June primary. Yeah, no, I know they've done primaries, but they haven't done June primary.
Yeah, but
That would also solve the issue about the colored tag, right? So now everybody
Right,
on
everybody
June
has
1st,
to
you better
say-
have a green tag or you're in trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
right.
No,
So,
that's a good idea.
okay, so that came up this morning. I think that was a great suggestion. So that might also be, I guess, incorporated into your a date when registrations need to be renewed. I think.
I don't know if that has to be in the law or if that could just be in the.
I mean,
Either way.
I don't know. Is it in our cabaret law? If it is, then
It's
yeah, it's annual.
Yeah.
It's well,
Yeah.
it's supposed to be.
It's the annual
December
renewal, doesn't have to
31st.
say.
Right.
Okay.
And you're supposed to make your application by a specific date.
I would not want to be in your shoes.
Well,
I don't know how you're going to decipher all this. whatever.
Well, then I'm going to
We've
come
all
back
done.
to you and we're going to go
Yeah.
through it again. So,
Mhm.
so the registration fees just talks about that the tiers that we talked about for residents and non-residents, which will have to be changed. So the fees generated by registration for the dog parks will only be used by the town for maintenance of and improvements to the dog parks. I thought that was something the board had talked about
Right.
at one of the work
Yes.
sessions. Regulations for dog parks. So these are just basically, again, most of them are things that were on these. If I could try to figure out which ones, if the supervisor isn't happy with only animals permitted or dogs, we could take that out.
Look, when are you gonna bring this up again? I need to know for my own.
So you can be sick that day.
Are we going to be chasing the squirrels out? No, 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 no.
Well,
Anyway.
I don't know what other people do. It was just if you want it out, it's
No,
out.
that's no. They do.
No person may access the dog parks if they are not accompanied by at least one dog. I don't know if you want that in there. That was something that I wrote.
You know, the people that come without dogs are the dog owners call them pupophiles. Why are you here watching my dog?
So you like that then?
I think it stops people from coming at other times and hanging out in the area, so I do like that.
Okay, great.
I think
Let's
you
leave
should
it.
have a dog,
Right.
or at least
Just
one.
stand
have a dog.
outside.
Or you could be outside the fence. There's no reason for you to be inside the fence if you don't have a dog with you.
Right.
Okay, one person may not bring more than 3 dogs to the dog park at one time. I think that was something the board wanted.
Yeah.
All dogs attending the dog parks must be accompanied by a person at least 16 years of age. 16 was a year we talked about.
Mhm.
Children 15 years of age or younger must be accompanied by someone who is at least 18. So, I mean, I don't know.
No.
No person may leave any dogs if brought to the dog parks unattended. Owners and or persons who bring a dog to the dog park shall keep the dogs in their line of sight and remain close enough to attend to the dogs if need be. See, now this is the type of stuff where I feel like, are we just kind of getting into like policy
that's sort
slash
of-
enforcement?
You know, I don't know that you
No.
have to say instead of line of sight and remain close enough to the dogs. You can't leave the dog unattended, and owners or persons who bring a dog to the dog park should be keeping track of the dog or aware of what their dog is doing. You know,
Again, that's
That's kind of
Right,
another,
yeah.
along those lines.
I think
of,
maybe you
what's
just
the
leave the
rule?
first.
they need to pay
sentence
attention.
and the second.
Can't
part.
leave the dogs unattended.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, must supervise their own dog. How's that? Must supervise their dog. Can't leave them unattended and must.
I just don't know how you enforce that.
Because there's
Well, I
always
guess if
that one
one
guy
dog
sitting
goes
in the
and
corner with his
attacks
back
another dog and
and
you're not
his
paying any
dog's
attention.
running around and they're not even looking at the dog or watching.
Say
it.
that person wasn't even paying any attention. They were on their cell phone and their dog jumped on.
Yeah,
my
there are
dog.
people that just, go have a conversation here and don't watch their dog being aggressive to other dogs.
And lots of
it's-
people could witness it.
Yeah.
That's how it would be enforced.
I'm talking about in the law, in the court of public opinion is one thing. I'm talking about getting a
I'm just
violation.
saying, if you have witnesses that say that person over there was sitting on their cell phone while their dog attacked my dog, and 5 people witnessed it, I don't know.
People are going to
So,
take out their cell phones
so then
and
I think
videotape it.
the way it's originally worded is more specific to that point.
Right, except for keeping near them is almost impossible.
In their line of sight.
Well, then
In
what-
their line of
Close
sight,
enough
yes.
to attend to the dog if need be. I think it's
How
good.
is that?
Okay, that's
I feel like
fine.
that's
Yeah,
more
all right.
specific than supervised.
I think it's good.
Okay,
I
that's
think
fine.
it's good. Leave it.
Good.
All dogs must wear properly fitted collars with the dog park's registration tags, identification tags, and licenses while in the dog parks. All dogs must be properly licensed, inoculated, and healthy. All dogs between the ages of 8 months and 10 years must be spayed or neutered. No dogs in heat are permitted in the dog parks. Again, a lot of these is from the.
And actually, that says no dog in here, so maybe you can say no dogs.
No dog in heat, that's good.
Is well, it's got to be is or are.
Oh, there
You
you
got to
go.
just have it agree.
It should be singular.
Okay, one or the other. No dog is or
No
dogs
dog in
are.
heat is permitted.
Okay.
Owners and/or the individuals who bring the dogs to the dog parks are legally responsible for their dogs and any injuries caused by the dog. I don't. No food is allowed in the dog parks. Owners and or the individuals who bring the dogs to the dog parks must clean up after the dogs and dispose of any waste in the receptacles provided. Dogs may only be unleashed once they are inside the dog parks. Dogs shall be kept on a leash at all other times. While the dog is not on the leash, the owner and or individual who brought the dogs to the dog park shall keep the leash readily accessible. No smoking is on the dog parks. No littering is on the dog parks.
Good.
Anyone who registers for the dog parks with the town clerk shall receive a copy of these rules and regulations at the time of registration. I don't know if this is feasible given the online
Or maybe
system.
Well, I could say please download.
Or if we have to mail the tag, we'll mail the rules.
Right. Or if there's a link on the website or something to a PDF, I don't know. These rules and regulations shall be conspicuously posted at the dog parks and shall be available in the town clerk's office and on the town's website and the recreation department's website.
If the sign starts to run, it will be replaced.
And then so I don't, in light of Councilwoman Feldman's comments about having a board, I don't know how you want to handle the superintendent of recreation.
I just think that, as we said, like that at some point that if we do have a board, if in fact, I think we would have to say
Or it
that
could-
there
or-
is a Friends of the Park group in fully constituted.
So does this need to be a town sanctioned
Yes.
board?
I don't know. Was it appointed? It wasn't appointed. It was just.
It was no, it
self-
wasn't a but they elected themselves and they had their own elections.
Which is similar to like Green Austin. I think. Green Austin is like sort of an
But there's
offshoot
nothing on the
committee.
books for green
Right.
austining, like the town doesn't regulate them.
Correct.
Right. So maybe we could just approve of the board after they elect them. Say superintendent of recreation /
Once they,
Friends
once
of Dog Park.
they, once there, if there is a fully constituted board of the Friends of the Town of Austin Dog Parks, then they will get the list of their board members to the town, and during the time that they are constituted, they would have the ability to
Do
refer to the superintendent of parks any concerns that they have regarding.
Right. So I think if we just put a /
Something like that.
superintendent of recreation / authorized dog park, approved dog park board is authorized, and then just leave the rest of the language as the same, so that it could be either the superintendent or the dog park board should it exist.
Okay.
So it could be either or, and
But
if
but
the dog
if
park
it's
board,
both, then you need to have some sort of hierarchy.
Right, and if there's hierarchy, would be that the dog park. if
Yeah,
needed-
first
if
instance
needed,
would
would refer up.
Yeah.
Right.
anything that looks like litigation can go to the superintendent. I mean, anything that's anyway. I think in
I mean,
All
are
right.
we? I'm not
right.
involved.
Right.
I'm not part of this whole the dialogue
Right.
that's going on the ground. Is this something you foresee coming to fruition relatively soon?
Yes.
Or is it okay? So this isn't something where if 6 months a group has gotten together, then the town board can revisit this. This is
I
something
feel
that, you think
that
would be
by the
productive
time
having
we're
here?
ready to vote on this, it will be yes, we're going to have one, or no, we can't figure it out.
Okay.
Because the conversations are going to start, and there's going to be a hearing process, and either and it will go onto their page, and here's what's going to be going on. Now, are you able to get it together and elect somebody to that's willing to be responsible and a board to self-police, or are we going to have the superintendent of recreation intervene every time?
And so
And either you can get it together or you can't. And I think by the time we get to the codifying the law or, voting on this officially, there will be an answer whether or not that will be able to happen.
So my just to one of the issues you had raised earlier about why this kind of fell apart in the first place was when they started having to register for the dog park and not wanting to pay into both pots.
Right.
Do you foresee that being problematic because it's being required in here?
Because what's being required in here?
The registration fee. So how do you foresee
We're
the
going to
Friends
have
of
to
the
see
Dog
if they
Park
can,
Board working?
well, then I'm guessing if we're going to do a trial period of a year or of everybody belongs to the dog park, then whoever shows up at the dog park, they're going to have the conversation with, hey, we're trying to be run by our own, the dog park board. That means that everybody's automatically a member as opposed to choosing to be a member. I'm not really sure how that's going to work. But they can try to work it out by at least electing people who care and are passionate about making sure that there is a happy, safe place for the local dogs. And there are a lot of people because they treat them as their children. My dog is my child. So there's almost nothing I wouldn't do. I was on the PTA, God help me. Anyway, so, there are a lot of people who really care about the life. Right. So really care about the quality of life and the quality of the environment for their animals.
I'm not
And so
questioning
they're
that.
going to come together. And I think that they can get it together. I just
It just seems like
don't want people who feel like, well, I had to join this, so I don't want to,
But again, there's two different things. One is a permit to use the dog park, and another is being a member of a friends group. Those are two different things. I mean,
Okay,
you're
but-
saying the board of the dog park. I'm saying the board of the friends of the dog park group.
Okay, so do you feel like the board should be a different Friends of the Dog Park, and they'll be the ones overseeing the park, and there'll be a bunch of other people who just kind of visit the park?
Overseeing the park is a loose term. Like,
Well,
you
it's
know,
peer pressure. Like,
Right,
oh, by the
yes.
way, we all have to go get a permit. You should have this. There's a pretty stiff, like,
again,
or
as friends of the dog park, they're sort of, yes, they're loosely overseeing they're basically trying to help keep
right.
the dog park.
They'd be
running
the ones that reach out to
efficiently.
us and go,
Right.
okay, the weeds in this corner,
Yes,
whatever,
exactly, running
or
efficiently. Right.
right.
So they're a second set of eyes or third, fourth, whatever set of
Right.
eyes on the dog park. That's
Right.
what I think is a friends group.
okay.
Okay.
And you don't feel everybody who has a tag needs to belong to it.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I think everybody who has a tag has a right to use the dog park. And then we have a group, just like we do with, whatever, with ACE or lots of other organizations. I mean, different kinds of organizations where they also and often act as a second set of eyes. Hey, this field isn't lined. Hey, we have the Friends of the Historic Cemeteries Conservancy. They're friends of. They're not a part of the town. They happen to be 501c3. Not all these groups are, but they're coming back and saying, we're going to help. We're going to help clean up the cemetery. We don't work for the town, but we work with the town. We're going to give you some suggestion. We're coming to the cemetery next week to do graveyard cleaning. Can you please make sure that it's mowed that week? Or, we saw something happen because we were walking around and we saw a stone fall over in, section whatever. So it's like a heads up kind of a thing. And I think that the way that those organizations work is to the benefit of everybody.
No,
But again,
absolutely.
not everybody has to pay to be a part of those groups. Doesn't preclude you from participating. It doesn't preclude you from helping, coming to work days or or things like that. If you want to do that, that's the kind of thing that I think would be the best way for this to operate.
So then
Okay, so then, the benefits of being a Friends of ODP, Ossing Dog Park is what they call themselves, ODP, might be they're the ones involved in the conversation on what new
Exactly.
doggy toys
Exactly.
or what is needed. And okay, all right,
That's what I think.
we could try that.
Well, that seems like it would be outside the scope of this local law then.
Yes.
Okay, so we're not putting anything about them in there. We're not legislating them.
I
They're
feel
just
like
going to exist.
It's going to muddy the waters if we do.
Yeah.
So let's
Okay.
just leave it out for now. Remember, we're not. It's not final
Okay.
tonight, right?
All right,
We're-
good.
this is a working
Okay.
document right now. I think we should leave it out for now. Let's have these two parallel courses working. We're trying to set up this Friends of the Ossian Dog Park to get them reconstituted, and we can work on how the best relationship is
Okay,
working
that's
together.
fair.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So we good? Where we are right now? I think
And then the fines are
the fines, 250 was what the board said at the work session.
right, but $400 and $1,000 is like
Okay, so are you going to keep charging the same fine for violations?
I'm gonna get $250 every pop. That's a good.
Okay,
that's
so
a
you
good
don't,
chunk
you
of
don't,
change.
so it's just $250 per
Per
violation. And you
violation.
don't want it to be increased for.
Yeah, in my world, $250 is pretty stiff anyway, but
Of
that's
course
fine.
it is. I mean, if
Okay.
you want it to
You
be
know.
$5, that was just the number that had been thrown around previously.
okay. I don't think we had a work session on this yet. Maybe.
Right, so
It was in my notes.
I'm sure there'll be a continuing conversation on that also. So
Alrighty.
May
All right.
7th.
anyway, I think you really took a good look at all the things that were available, and I'd like to thank you for really putting it all together in a way that I couldn't have. So,
It was my pleasure. I'm going to consult with Councilman Wiltshire, and we're going to make some changes, and then we'll be back to you guys in a few
oh,
weeks.
Mr. Wiltshire. Thank you, Councilman Wiltshire.
Yes.
He
was the one
listening to you.
He's off. Okay. Fantastic. All right. I think we have finished our work session for the evening. And with that, I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening for this quick, not as quick as we thought, but productive work session. I look forward to seeing you all on Tuesday, May 28th at the courthouse for our regular meeting beginning at 7:30 p.m. Please be reminded that the town and village offices will be closed on Monday, May 27th in observation of Memorial Day. I hope everyone enjoys the long weekend. Hope we have this wonderful weather as we're having today and is able to spend some time contemplating the sacrifices made by our servicemen and women in pursuit of our continued freedoms. Have a great night, everyone, and a great week, and we will see you next Tuesday.